There are many reasons to become a minimalist, but one of them are the financial benefits. Whether you want to build wealth, pay off debt, or become financially independent, I think minimalism is an incredible tool to help you achieve your financial goals. So in this video, I want to give you some tips. I want to give you an overview over some of the things that you can do to use minimalism to improve your finances. When you want to be intentional about the things that you own, you first need to have an overview over the things that you actually have. And likewise, when you want to be intentional about your finances, you have to know where you're spending your money and you have to know where your money goes. So something that I find very useful is to track your expenses. There are many apps out there, or you can just be old school and use a pen and paper and write down everything you spend. All that matters is that you track all your expenses. First, think about all the fixed costs that you have, so things like rent or car payments, and then write those down, and then simply write down the amount every time you spend money. I find it very helpful to put those expenses into categories, so things like food and rent and transportation and those things, and that really makes it a lot easier to see where you are spending how much money. I don't think that this is something that you have to do forever, but I think it's useful to do it for at least 1 month so you really get a good overview over where your money goes. If you've done this, you can now look at your expenses and see which of them are actually necessary, which bring you a lot of value, and maybe there are some of them that actually are not important at all and that you can just cut out. My next tip is to declutter. Often the things we own actually cost us money. So for example, if you own a TV set, you probably also pay for cable TV, you may have some subscription services, you probably buy DVDs or Blu-rays or video games every once in a while, and you probably also have a TV console. So often when we own something, it actually leads to further purchases. When you declutter, it can also allow you to downsize, because if you have less stuff, you need less space to store all your stuff, so you can move into a smaller home, into a smaller apartment, and save a lot of rent or mortgage payments. You could also sell your car and buy a smaller and cheaper one, or even get rid of your car altogether and just walk or bike everywhere. Especially if you live in a city, it's often very easy to get by just by walking, biking, and public transportation. So this is something that can save you a lot of money. Whether you want to pay off debt or become financially independent, if you want to achieve your financial goals, it's always important that you earn more money than you spend. That sounds like common sense, but most people live paycheck to paycheck. That means they spend every dollar that they earn. And I know many people like that. They say things like, oh, I can't afford that right now, I have to wait for my next paycheck, or I have to wait for my Christmas bonus. But if you live in that way, it is absolutely impossible to build wealth or to become financially independent, because you spend everything you have, so you can't ever save or invest anything. So if that's you, take a hard look at your expenses and at your income. And if your expenses exceed your income or are roughly the same as the income, you really need to find ways to reduce your expenses or increase your income, or ideally do both. When you start earning more money, there's a trap that you have to watch out for. It's called lifestyle inflation. This is closely related to the previous tip, because many people who live paycheck to paycheck keep living paycheck to paycheck even when they start earning more money. So the more money they earn, the more money they spend. Some people move into a bigger house or buy a nicer car the moment they get a pay raise. And from the outside, they seem to do very well. They seem like wealthy people, but actually they still live paycheck to paycheck, and the moment they lose their income, they are in big financial trouble. That's why so many lottery winners go broke within a few years after winning. If you want to avoid lifestyle inflation, you have to identify the things that really bring you value, the things that are necessary for you and that are necessary for you to be happy, and then you have to stick to those things. And even if you make more money, you know that you can be happy living that way. So if your income increases, you can just keep on living the same way, because you know that that's enough for you. It's really a mindset shift from how much can I get to what is enough. A very good example of that is Warren Buffett. He is one of the wealthiest humans on earth. He's literally worth billions of dollars, and he still lives in a pretty normal house. He doesn't wear fancy designer clothes. He doesn't drive big sports cars. He just lives a very modest life. So despite having all of that money, he still lives a very modest life because he knows what's enough for him. downsize, live below your means, that sounds like I want you to live like some kind of ascetic and only eat rice and beans and live in a small basement, but that is actually not at all the case. Financial minimalism is not about spending as little money as possible. Instead, it's about being smart about it and spending money intentionally. So you stop spending money on things that you don't really need, on things that are not necessary and that don't really bring value to your life. And by doing that, you have more money left that you can save and invest or spend on things that actually improve the quality of your life. So you need to know what's important to you, what really brings a lot of value and a lot of joy to you, and then feel free to spend money on those things. Financial minimalism is not about depriving you of anything, it's about making your life richer. To me, that means buying quality over quantity and to invest in experiences rather than in things. The classic example for that is coffee from coffee shops. If you spend $5 on a cup of coffee every morning on your way to work, over the year that's more than $1,000. So if you would instead prepare a coffee at home and then take it with you in a travel mug, you could save a lot of money, and you can use that money to invest it and save it, or to do something that really brings you a lot of value. Some people really enjoy the experience of getting coffee to go, and that's totally fine. But I for once would prefer to save that money, make my own coffee and go on a trip instead. One of the best pieces of financial advice that I have ever gotten is to pay yourself first. Most people pay their bills at the beginning of the month, then they spend whatever money they want to spend, and if something is left at the end of the month, then that's what they save. But if you want to build wealth, then you have to prioritize saving and investing, just like you prioritize paying your rent. You wouldn't just spend money as you like and see if there's enough money left for rent at the end of the month. You always pay your rent, no matter what. And you should treat yourself the same. In the beginning of every month, transfer as much as you can afford of your income to a savings account. Whether that's 10%, 30% or 70% of your income, take as much as you can in the beginning of the month and then save and invest that. So instead of saving what's left after spending, you spend what's left after saving. And in that way, you really prioritize saving and investing money. Alright, so these were some of the things that I do to apply minimalism to my finances and some tips on financial minimalism. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this video helpful. I thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you found it helpful, and I will see you if you want in my next video.